the non-negotiable pillar in my
Mhm.
book, it is absolutely non-negotiable, is integrity. And if you think of a house or any structure that is supported by beams, that integrity column is the center pillar that holds up the peak of the house. Because if that fails, the house collapses.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the strength of the others.
Welcome to the Leadership That Shines podcast, the weekly leadership training show that's built around three values that show up in everything we do: impact, influence, and growth. Whether you're leading a team, building a business, or learning to lead yourself first, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Natalie Davis. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Leadership That Shines podcast. I am so excited to be back with all of you, and thank you for joining. I'm hoping that you all are enjoying the leadership episodes that we've had so far. A lot of great nuggets, a lot of amazing takeaways, especially for me, just as I'm going through and reflecting on my leadership journey, things that I can do better, ways that I can improve, always looking for those. And so I consider myself to be a lifelong learner. And so having this platform and amazing guests to share, it really does fill my bucket. And so today is no different. We have a fabulous guest that is joining us. And I want to get this right because this individual is known as the leadership identity archetype. I feel like that's a title in itself. Jim, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I think we're going to have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I would love for you to just take a few moments to introduce yourself to our listeners. Talk to us a little bit about your leadership journey and some of the things that you're currently working on, recent release of a book, things of that nature. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I have been in the business world since, and this is going to give my age away, since 1983.
We don't
So
do live math, so no one's counting. So that's
okay,
perfect.
so we have
Yes.
enough fingers to count that many. So
Yes.
we're good at that. So I've spent my entire professional career, first in healthcare and second in leadership.
Mm.
And it's been an amazing journey. I've had some great mentors. And one of the things that I tell all of the audiences that I speak to is everybody, even leaders, need a mentor because you're going to have a question come up someday and you're not going to know how to handle it. And it'll be a good thing to be able to make a phone call and say, hey, Natalie, what would you do in this situation?
Exactly.
So even for up and comers, but especially for experienced leaders, it's a never ending journey. When you make the decision to become a leader, you own that and you
Mhm.
own that and you owe it to your students or your mentorees to continue to stay with the evolution of leadership.
Yeah. Jim, you touch on a piece that we've not had an opportunity to talk about on the show, and that's in the space of having a mentor, someone that you can trust. I've just gone through a recent, just personal process that I've shared with the world in terms of structuring my business in a way that I thought that I needed to structure my business for growth this year in 2026. And after connecting with one of my longtime mentors, had an opportunity to really tear that business plan apart. What I thought was strategy was also built around a lot of fear and creating obstacles for myself, right? Like making the goal unachievable in it basically. And so it's important, like you said, to have those mentors in our lives because we don't know what we don't know, and we can't see those blocks that we create for ourselves or even the missing pieces with the bigger puzzle. What's your advice or recommendation for people that are looking to develop a relationship if they are the mentor or the mentee, if they're wanting to have a connection? What does that look like for you?
So, number one, it should never be your boss or a subordinate, right?
Agreed.
You got to
Yes.
keep those things separate because if you use your boss as your mentor, it's going to be what they believe you should say and what
Mm,
they want the outcome to be. So, and it's
yes.
not a negative thing, it's just human nature.
Yes.
Um, but it could be somebody within your own organization that you work with,
Mhm.
and it could be a relative. It could be
Yeah.
virtually anybody. It's got to be someone that you can build a level of trust with.
Mhm.
And because there's going to be some tough questions and situations that you run into.
Yes.
So
And I think it's a great, outlet to have, especially for individuals that are already established in a leadership capacity. Being able to have someone that you can confide in and talk to, because that doesn't exist when you are trying to connect with somebody else in the organization. One, it's inappropriate, and two, it's not gonna end well. So making sure that there's someone that you can truly trust, and confide in.
Absolutely.
Yes. So your journey, looking at separate industries, your journey in leadership, what are some commonalities that you've seen just in your experience over the years?
So, you're really jumping right into the
Yeah,
middle of
yeah.
the hard. So, what I have witnessed, and I've been mentoring people for the last 25 years,
Mhm.
not in a paid capacity, but just because I worked at a company at a time, and they had a mentorship program for up and coming leaders. And
Beautiful.
so I was already a leader, but it forced me to actually be a mentor to someone. And I
Yes.
enjoyed it a lot because it became a different aspect than the employer employee relationship. I
Mhm.
could also help develop somebody who didn't even work in my department. And
Right.
so I have seen a lot of things, and there are some bad leaders out there, um, but there's also some excellent leaders out there. But
Mm.
the one thing that I consistently see is that what we do, not just in this country, I've been in podcasts on other countries and they do it there too, is when somebody quits, a lot of times, the majority of the time, we will look at that organization and pull out the best technical resource and make them a manager, even though they may never wanted to be a manager. We call that an accidental manager.
Mhm.
Here's what
Yes.
happens with the accidental manager. Number one, they will struggle to make the transition from individual contributor to leader.
Mhm.
Number one, no one will notice this, but they will start to feel stressed out and
Mm.
they'll find out that they're putting in 80, 90 hours a week because they can't make that transition.
Wow.
By the end of year one, people on the team start to quietly disengage, and some of them probably will leave, one or two of them. 18 to 24 months, what we see is that leader starts to burn out because
Mm.
they can't handle the pressure, they can't handle the stress, and it's all because no one gave them a roadmap to follow
Yeah.
of what's important. And so I sat down a couple years ago and I said, I've got to think about retirement. And I said, I want to be able to give back, but more importantly, I wanted something to do to prevent my wife from leaving me a list of things to do every day, like pick the weeds in the flower bed.
Yes.
And so I
That is
thought
not how you envision that season of life. You're like, "That's
that is
not what
correct.
I'm doing."
Absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. So
Yes.
I, to me, I said, I wonder if I could mentor at scale. And
Mm.
so I talked to some people and they said, that's a great idea. And then I talked to some professional speakers and I asked this question of them. I said, "So, how did you get started? And you have a book or you don't have a book. Don't you think a book is important?"
Right.
And everybody told me no, a book wasn't important.
Mhm.
And I said, and I disagreed with that. So, because I wanted to create a 2 or 3 year plan before I retired, I decided I would write a book.
Mhm.
So, what I did is I sat down and went through all the people I mentored. And I made a list of the characteristics that they fell short on and that I had to help them with.
Right.
And those characteristics, it was more than six. But I said, I can't put a book together with more than six. There's got to be a reasonable number. And I didn't know it was going to land on six. But what I
Mhm.
started to do with the list is I started to go through and say, no, that's not as important as this one is. No, that's not, so there could be a follow up book with
Yes.
another six, round
Of
two of
course.
this.
Yes.
But what I did is I carved it down to the six things that I felt were most important in my management style that has made a difference. And let me give you a statistic. Today in the United States, voluntary attrition averages between 10 and 15%. Voluntary attrition.
Wow.
Now, let's put some numbers to that. If you look at it as a whole, Gallup says that's $1.7 trillion that's impacting everybody's the total bottom line of all the companies.
Mhm.
Let's assume I like simple math. So let's assume you have a 500-person company.
Yep.
Let's assume you have 10% attrition.
Yep.
And let's assume that each person that quit made $100,000 a year.
Okay.
That's 50 people,
Yes.
$100,000 a year.
Yep.
And the Society of Human Resource organization says that it will cost to replace that employee between 100% and 300% of, of what you paid them. So let's
Yes.
use 200%. If you have 500 people, 50 quit, and you have to replace them, that's $10 million of profit that went out the window.
And that happens
10,
every year.
and that happens every year.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
here's the difference. If you instill the principles that we're going to talk about, and some of them are hard,
Mm,
your attrition rate can be cut in half.
mhm,
My attrition rate throughout my career is below 5%,
mm,
voluntary attrition. I have a lot of people, not a lot of people, I have a number of people who have come to work for me in more than one organization because they know the leadership style, they know what they're going to get, they know that they're going to have to work hard,
mhm.
but they have psychological safety because they know what they're going to get.
Yes.
And psychological safety is more important today than anything.
Absolutely.
And if your employees, your team doesn't trust you, they will not be psychologically safe. They won't be a follower. They may
Yeah.
get the job accomplished, but eventually they're going to be one of those percentage points that walks out the door.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
I solve that. And it's not difficult, but and it's really when we go through it, it's practical,
Mm,
it makes sense, it's not theory. I'm probably the only leadership book out there that has nothing about theory in it. Everybody who talks leadership talks about theory, and that's fine,
mhm.
but I don't need a 300-page book about theory.
Yeah.
My book is 164 pages,
Yes.
and it's implementable. And so in each chapter, in each pillar that we talk about, I talk about the pillar. I talk about a time where I used that pillar or how that pillar came to me. And then I go beyond that. I tell people how they can implement that pillar. And I also give them names of other people in the world that use that pillar in their management style.
Wow.
And
Yes.
so you can actually see that when we talk about integrity, Satya Nadella, when he first got into Microsoft, he said, we're going to operate with complete integrity and complete transparency. And he turned that organization around.
Yeah.
And, so you don't have to listen to Jim, but you
Yeah.
can listen to these other people who are referenced in there. I have Abe Lincoln referenced. I have uh, Satya, and I would just said Satya, Nelson Mandela mentioned. So because I thought it was important for people to see that this wasn't just me, but there are
Yes.
other people in the world that exhibit this as well.
Absolutely. Jim, I think that's huge and thank you for narrowing it down to the 6 pillars, right? It's digestible, it's something that you can actually apply and knowing that there's potentially a book number 2, 3, 4 or 5 that's out there versus giving us 101 things that every leader needs to know. You're not going to apply it, right? You won't make it your own and truly adopt it into your everyday. And that's what we need, right? When we're talking about growing as a leader is understanding what are the skills, the qualities, the attributes that we should strive to have, or even the values that we need to have, not just for ourselves, but for our team and within the organization. And then how can we keep growing on that and utilizing that, making sure that it's consistent in terms of how it shows up and when it shows up.
Absolutely correct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I love this. I love this. And you've done the cross referencing for those people that like data. I like the data. I do not enjoy compiling data. So you've already done it. So that's a huge piece. I would love for us to dive into the six pillars if you don't mind, Jim. Let's take a look at it.
Okay. So the non-negotiable pillar in my
Hmm.
book, it is absolutely non-negotiable, is integrity. And if you think of a house or any structure that is supported by beams,
Hmm.
that integrity column is the center pillar that holds up the peak of the house, because if that fails, the house collapses.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the strength of the others.
Right.
And let me tell you a story. So I like to tell stories because I think people can relate better to the stories if I when I tell them, and they're real life stories.
Hmm.
So the year I graduated college, 1983, I was 22 years old. I ran for city government in the town that I grew up in.
Wow.
So not only did I enter the workforce, I ran for city government and I won.
Oh, wow.
Um, I also won 3 years later. And so I ran for, so it wasn't a fluke. Um,
Yes.
but a few weeks after the election, I get a call from the city manager who asked me if I could come in and spend a little time with him. And I said, absolutely. Now, this is
Mhm.
a guy who had been the city manager for a number of years. He grew up in the town like I did. He was much older and wiser than I was. Um, and, and so we sat down, we just started talking. And then he said, well, I want to tell you why I really had you come here. I said, okay. He said, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Here I am thinking I'm not even sworn in yet, and somebody's asking me for a political favor. What did I
Right.
get
Yes.
myself into, right?
Every rumor that you heard is now true. You're living through it. Yes.
Right. And all of a sudden I'm sweating cold,
Yes.
cold, cold, so sweat coming down. And so I said, okay, I'm game. And his name was Don. And Don says, Jim, he said, every night, he said, when you go to bed and you put your head on your pillow, but before you close your eyes, I want you to ask yourself one question. He said, and I want you to ask the following. Did I do anything today for my own personal benefit that was at the expense of another individual, group of individuals, or organization?
Wow.
He said, and then he went on to say, and if you answer yes, before you can close your eyes and sleep peacefully, you have to do two things. You need to figure out how to unwind it,
Mm,
and you need to figure out how to never do it again. I have led my life with that principle.
yeah.
I ask myself that question every night.
Yeah.
I can't remember a time when I ever said yes to that
Hmm.
question.
That's beautiful.
And
You don't have a problem sleeping at night with that, right? Like if that's the question that you ask yourself before you go to bed, and what's happening because of how beautiful and powerful our brain is, that's already programming yourself for the next day, right? So the next morning, you already know I have to answer this question at the end of the day. I'm setting
right,
myself up to not put myself in a position where I have to say yes.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
And it's non-negotiable because without it, nothing else can come together.
No.
You can't build trust if you're not transparent with your
Yes.
team. Now, now somebody's going to say to you, somebody always asks if on the live shows, but wait a second, you can't tell employees everything. That's
Right.
true.
Right.
There are things if you're going to get sold, you can't tell them that. If you're going to
Mhm.
buy another company, especially if
No.
you're publicly traded, you can't let that information out.
No.
But outside of that, my teams always know everything that I know. That's number one.
Mhm.
Number two, my teams know that I'm not the smartest person in the world.
Mhm.
My teams know it's okay to make a mistake,
Mhm.
but we learn from those mistakes and we don't repeat them.
Yeah.
And that sets the whole stage up for the
Yeah.
rest of the pillars to make a difference.
Mhm.
So that's integrity, non-negotiable.
Love that. And it's not
Second,
subjective. But not when you're asking yourself that question at the end of every night.
that's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Now, Second pillar, compassion.
Mm,
Third pillar is empathy. Now, people get them confused, but here's my easy definition. With compassion, I can sympathize what you're going through.
mhm,
With empathy, I can put myself in your shoes and try to solve it for you.
mm,
And if you keep it simple, a leader has to be able to know where to show, when and where to show compassion and where and when to show empathy.
mhm,
You cannot pick up a book and learn compassion.
mm,
And you can't pick up a book and learn um, empathy.
mm,
It's got to come from here.
mhm.
And you have to do it.
Yes. And
I'm
you
not
can't
saying
rush it.
you have to like everybody.
Yes.
But it's my job as a leader to recognize when you come in the morning, do you have that smile on your face that you have every other morning?
Yeah.
Is that coffee cup, are you hiding behind the coffee cup or you have it at your side like you normally do?
Right.
Is your chin the normal height? Is there anything because that's the opportunity for me as a leader to be able to inject and see, how can I help you today, Natalie? I notice something's off with you.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do that, you're going to go to wherever you sit and you're not going to be successful or productive that day.
Mhm,
You could have a sick child. You could have a sick
mhm.
pet. You could have a sick relative or whatever, but you must be able to do something to be able to interject.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a couple of stories. The first story, I had a woman who worked for me a few years ago who was a single mom with an absent ex-husband and a 12-year-old boy. And it was the middle to the end of July during the summer. And I kept thinking, I don't think she's taken a day off or any time to be with her son.
Wow. Yep.
So we had a one-on-one scheduled for Wednesday. It was the day she chose for the weekly one-on-one. And so when we got on the phone, I said to her, I said, look, I'm not going to name names, so don't ask. But
Right.
I said, look, I noticed that you haven't taken any time off yet. Your son needs time with you. So here's what we're doing. When this conversation's over, you're turning your cell phone off and you're turning your computer off. And I don't want to see or hear from you or see an email from you until Monday morning. And I don't want you to take this as PTO.
Right.
You put in that you worked. This is my gift to you, but I want you to go spend quality time with your son.
Right.
And she paused for a second and she said, can we negotiate this? And I'm like,
I'm not surprised.
I'm like, no, we can't. She
Yes.
said, well, let me explain. She said, I promised a customer a pretty big deliverable for this week. If I have to shut my computer off, I won't make that deliverable to the customer.
Mhm. Yes.
If I agree to do this next week, will you honor it so that I can get this deliverable out for the customer?
Mm.
I said, done, but there'll be no more extensions.
Right.
You must do it next week. And she
Beautiful.
did.
Yeah.
When she came back on that Monday morning, I was her first phone call. She was a little emotional, but thanked me because she did not realize how much her son needed time with her.
Mm. Yeah.
Think about it. 12-year-old boy going
Yeah.
through puberty, no dad in the picture,
Yeah.
and a mom who's working 100 hours a week,
Right.
right? Can't solve it for her, but I
Right.
showed compassion in that situation and enabled her because I could um, do the right thing and take that time.
Yeah.
And so what does that do for an employee? It makes them loyal.
Oh my gosh.
It makes
Absolutely.
them a follower, and
Absolutely.
you do things differently. Now,
Yeah.
in terms of empathy, I once worked for a technology company, and I had several departments, and one of which was a software department that was out on the West Coast. And this was around the year 2002. Now, you're a lot younger than I am, so you may not remember computers that didn't have mice with them, and
Oh,
everything was a
no. I've always had a wired mouse. Yes, I've even had a wired one. Yes.
okay. So this predates that, and what we did at this company is we made claim systems for health insurance companies, and we had an old green screen piece of technology
Mhm.
that we had 36 customers on, and yet we had Windows-based technology that was far better, more expensive, um, but we didn't wanna keep the green screen around forever. So we set out a plan that we needed to convert 36 customers over to the new stuff. In essence, that department's gonna go away.
Mhm.
So I get the pleasure of having to tell 25 people their job is going away. I don't know when it's going to go away. It's going to be based on the implementation of the new products and services, and those could take 8 to 12 months.
Mhm.
But here's what I'm going to do. And I made them 3 promises. Promise number 1, the moment I know the plan for customer A and when they're going to go off, I will tell you so you will have no less than 6 or 7 months notice of when your job is going away.
Yeah.
That was promise number 1. Promise number 2, if you want to learn the new products and services so that you could transition from your role over to the other newer departments, I will make the training available to you during the work day, not
Mhm.
during lunch, not after hours, not early morning, because these are all salaried people, right? I'm not going to
Mhm.
take time from their families. But
Right.
I said, I will make the knowledge available to you so you can make that transition. But I didn't stop there. I made an additional promise. I said, look, this process is going to take 3 to 4 years to complete. So if you're sitting in a role and you don't want to be here, I will personally help you get a job outside of this
Mhm.
organization that fits your skill set and meets the family financial needs that you have today.
Yeah.
Made those 3 promises.
Yes.
My only goal in this, my only goal was to ensure that we had enough people still on board to support the customers that were left as the customers started to dwindle away.
Yeah.
And I was successful.
That's huge.
However, about 2.5 years into this, I get a call from HR and they said, can we come and see you? And I said, of course, what's the first thing that happens when HR calls you and they,
Exactly.
yeah,
I would rather not take the call, and I'd rather not have the meeting. Yes.
correct. Well, these 2 nice ladies walked into my office. 2 things I noticed right away. They didn't have an empty box and they didn't have my boss with them.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. So now I can
Yes.
relax. So they sat down and they said, so we want to talk to you about one of your teams. I said, okay. Well, we want to talk to you about the team out in California. I was like, okay. And they said, well, do you remember about 2 months ago, we did an employee satisfaction survey? And I said, yes. Well, we're here to talk about the results of that department because we don't understand it. And I said, how bad is it? And they said, that's not the problem.
Mm-mm.
The problem we're having is those 25 people out of a 20,000 person company are the happiest employees
Yeah.
in the entire company.
Yeah.
And they said, Jim, why? You're
Yeah.
downsizing them.
Yeah.
And they said, what are you doing to keep them so motivated? And I said, I guess I made them a couple of promises. And they said, you made them promises. I said, yeah, I told them I'd get them trained if they wanted to stay. They didn't want to stay. I would help them find a new job. If,
Mhm.
I told them the 3 promises. They looked at me and they said, We can't believe what those 3 things did to those people,
Yeah.
and they actually made it a permanent part of any downsizing program that
Beautiful.
they had moving forward.
Yeah.
My only goal was to keep the customers happy and have people to support them.
Mhm.
I never expected the other outcome.
Right. Yeah.
To this day, there are 3 people on that team that I get an email from on Bosses Day still
Mhm.
25 years later.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And Jim, I think it really speaks to kind of the push-pull dynamic or kind of the separation that leaders feel when you talk about compassion and empathy and still yet upholding a company or organization's goals and objectives, right? So you're still able to uphold the objectives of the company and ensure that there is this safe space, right? When you started out talking about the psychological safety, that all comes from the compassion and empathy that you have with your team, right? And it's not a one-off. This is how you're consistently showing up, which is another key piece. And I, going into this, you can't do them as a, well, I was empathetic once, or, I gave the employee 3 days off in the summer so they could spend time with their children. That's a one-off, and it has to become part of the culture of the team, and the relationship between the leader and their team members.
Correct, correct. And the psychological safety is so critical.
Yes.
If an employee is not psychologically safe, they're not gonna be productive. They're not gonna follow you. They're not
Yes.
gonna believe in you. And then you said something about showing up. And so we're gonna jump to the next pillar, which is stability.
Yes.
Showing up the same way every day,
Hmm.
regardless of what's going on in your own life.
Hmm.
Your team needs to see that behavior consistently. If they see you argumentative in the parking lot with someone,
Hmm.
and that's not typically what they see of you, they're going to be concerned what's going on.
Yes.
And you start to break that psychological safety down.
Exactly.
You can't be a screamer to certain employees and a non-screamer to other employees.
Yes.
You can't, you've got to be the stability of your persona has to be consistent in all situations.
Hmm.
Example, garbage can is on fire. Does the leader get up and stand on the chair and say, everybody run for the exits? No. The
No.
leader gets up and says, look, folks, we have a problem. The alarm's going off. We need to file out as we've practiced. I'll be right with you, but I'm going to be clearing the floor and
Yep.
making sure that I'm the last one out.
Yep.
So everybody, let's get going.
Yes.
You behave. If you come off, start screaming helter skelter, everybody run for, run for, all bets are off, right?
Absolutely.
All bets are off. So stability is extremely important
Hmm.
as well. And if you think about these things, some people would call these soft skills. These are emotional intelligence skills.
They are.
These are things that they don't teach you at Brown, Wharton, Harvard, Yale, or or
Exactly.
Emory. Nobody teaches us. And
Yes.
no leader, everyone that I mentor was never given a roadmap of ways to become successful in building a team. And that's what my book is giving them is a roadmap,
Yes.
simple roadmap.
I
And it the
I always ask for a playbook, and so when I saw that your book was an actual blueprint, it's a roadmap, like, it is there for you to follow. I got so excited, and again, it's not, I think it's important for us to stress that the book is not just for new or aspiring leaders. This book is applicable to every leader in every season or chapter of their life if they find themselves to be coachable and teachable right now, right?
absolutely. So
Yeah.
this is where it gets interesting. When my book came out, I started doing some podcast guesting like we're doing here. But then I started getting calls from podcasters that I thought, why are they calling me? The first one that called me that I was like, I'm not a fit, was a woman who runs a podcast for stay at home moms. And she said, "I want you on my show." And I said,
Mhm.
"But I'm not a fit." And she said, "I've read your book. You are a fit.
Yeah.
I only want you to talk about 2 pillars because my moms struggle with these 2 things every day with their
Absolutely.
children and with their spouse. And the 2 pillars I want you to talk about are empathy and compassion.
Mhm.
That
Yes.
that if they ask questions about others, we can go there,
Yeah.
but I really wanna dig into those 2." We talked for almost 90 minutes on a
Yes.
podcast.
Absolutely.
And it so when I was speaking at a conference in December and was talking about the pillars and talking about some workshops that were coming out and how to take this even further. And at the end of it, I always like to do Q&A because if somebody I want everybody to take something away from that day that they can implement.
Yes.
If everybody can say, "I have something written down," then my job was successful. Um,
Exactly.
and a gentleman put his hand up for a question, and I called on him, and he got up, and he said, "So, I wanna challenge something." I said, "Okay." He said, "This isn't a book about a roadmap for business. This is a book about a roadmap for life,
Mhm.
for any life.
Yeah.
If you want to be a good person," your parents always told you, "We're gonna live by the golden rule."
Yes.
This isn't far off from that,
No.
and it's practical, it's applicable, it's implementable, and you will notice if somebody comes to my workshop, whether they do the individual cohort over 8 weeks or whether a company does and sponsors the workshop,
Mhm.
they will notice a change in themselves within 14 days.
Mhm. Yeah.
Within 14 days,
Yeah.
because the team will see it immediately.
Yes.
And when
Absolutely.
you're gonna start with integrity if you go through the workshop, and because again, that's foundational. The house
Yes.
falls down if that's not there.
Yes. Absolutely. And it starts to do a little bit of programming as well for the other people on your team, right? And when we talk about leaders, title or no title, right? I find it fitting that you were able to speak to a group of stay-at-home moms because there was a season of my life that I was a stay-at-home mom where I realized that I was not built for that. That was not my strong suit. But those are all things that I think um, when you talk about the pillars, these are pillars that people in general can utilize in their personal and professional lives or wherever they are a quote unquote leader. Volunteer leadership, if they're head of the household, leadership from the home perspective in your profession, in your career. I think it's important to remember that these are the skills that carry through every area. And I would imagine if you're truly committed to it, you can't turn them on and off, right? And just
You
have
can't.
practice
It
all sick at work, but turn it off
it
when you get
it's
home. That doesn't
24
no.
it's 24/7.
It's
I
24/7. Yes.
Another group that I did a podcast for a group of, elementary school principals, and again, I was not expecting that this would be an area to resonate,
Yes.
and shortly after, that presentation, or that podcast, um, a woman from Mississippi, a school principal, took a vacation to the beach, and she posted a picture on LinkedIn of
Mhm.
my book in her lap and
Mm,
her
mhm.
saying, "This is my project for this week. I
Oh,
have been waiting to read this book ever since I got it, but I haven't had time to focus on it.
yeah.
And the next 4 days, I'm gonna focus on this book."
That's awesome.
4 days later, you have another picture with corners turned every which
Yes.
way,
Yes.
highlighting, writing in, and she said, "Now I can't wait for school to start to implement what I just
Mhm.
learned."
Yeah.
And it 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 really has resonated with so many people.
Yes.
And I didn't think I was an author. I mean, it's the first thing I've written. And to have that kind of reaction and that people can follow with it and
Yeah.
people can understand it and it's not theory. And
Yes.
you know, you're not going to get theory. You want to call me and ask me, what's the theory of this? You're not going to get that.
I'm not the person. Yes, exactly. Yes.
I'm not that
You're
person.
you were able to put together a piece that is a compilation of your observation from lived experience, and that's huge. That is
Correct.
huge. Yes,
That is
absolutely.
everything is from lived
Not just
experience.
observation. I apologize. It's observation and your own experiences, right? It's not that you were just witnessing it. You were part of it. Yes.
I was living it. I was living it.
Yes. Absolutely.
So let's go on. So
Yes.
we talked a little bit about stability. The next is focus.
Mm.
Everyone has to have focus on what it is we're trying to achieve and
Mhm.
strive for that. And I could give you multiple examples of people in the world who show tremendous focus. And I'm going to use Jeff Bezos as an example. Jeff Bezos started Amazon in his garage and it only sold books back in the mid to early 90s. As Amazon grew long ago, not any, I mean, they're massive warehouses on every street corner almost.
Mhm.
But early on, as that company was growing, they got terrible reviews for customer service. And he was receiving nasty grams from lots of people about how they were treated on the phone. Nobody would ran the gamut. So Jeff went to the head of the customer service area and said, "We need to fix this." So the guy says, "What am I going to do?" He said, "You're not going to do anything." He said, "I'm having my desk moved down here and I'm going to sit in the middle of this floor until I can figure out what we're going to do."
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jeff Bezos went every day to that floor and sat and listened and documented and wrote. And and when he was done, he called that director up again and said, "Okay, I have a plan." And they implemented that plan. Now, a lot of people can say, "Well, you can never talk to anybody at at Amazon." Okay, it's a technology company. I
Mhm.
get it, right? If you absolutely, if you want a real person, you could get to them, but
Yes.
it's going to take some real effort, but you don't need to. They
Right.
make it easy for you.
Yes.
I got a delivery today from Amazon and it was a shampoo bottle and it, they obviously dropped it on the porch. It was only in an envelope and it was wrapped in plastic. But when I went and picked it up, the outside of the envelope was soaking wet. And
Mhm.
so somewhere that package was dropped either on my
Mhm.
porch or whatever and created a crack in the bottle, which created a leak.
Yes.
I went on the website. What 2 questions. Is the product damaged? Is the packaging damaged? Yes and yes.
Mhm.
They didn't need any pictures. They just
No,
said, "Do you want us to replace it or credit your account?"
that's it.
And right. Simple as could be. No
Exactly.
argument, no arguments. Are you gonna cover it or you're not gonna cover it? You know,
Yes.
bring it. We don't believe you. Bring it back to us. It was no,
Right.
toss it in the garbage. We'll send you another one.
Right.
I I mean, but that's what focus gives you. You can
Mm.
really see, when you focus on something.
What is it
Um,
that we're trying to do here? That was it. And Jeff realized like we are missing a huge piece and it's going to impact the future success of the company. What do we need to shift? What do we need to change? Um
correct,
and you're spot on. Like focusing on the fact that we are a tech company and we're going to put emphasis back on that. This could all be solved with yes, putting in a new system, putting in a new process.
correct, correct.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the last pillar, and everybody questions it and says, "That doesn't fit." Last
Okay.
pillar
Okay.
the last pillar is humor. Now let me explain.
Ah.
Let me explain. I am not suggesting that the leader needs to become a stand-up comic at the water cooler at 10 a.m. every morning.
Mm.
I use humor as a strategic tool, and I use it in certain situations. Number
Mhm.
1, I always kick off a meeting with a little bit of humor. And anyone who's been around for the last 30 some years, Ronald Reagan, a famous president, kicked off everything with a farm joke or something else. You
Mhm.
can look it up on YouTube. But what it does is it humanizes me to the team.
Mm.
And it's not about making fun of somebody on the team. My humor is always self-deprecating humor,
Yeah.
unless I've asked for permission from an employee to pick on them. I had an employee once, he must have owned 200 pairs of sneakers,
Mhm.
and every day was a different color,
Mhm.
bright yellow, bright red, bright red. And I said to him one day, I said, I don't want to say his name, but I said, I have to pick on you and your shoes.
Yeah.
I said, I need to know how many you own, but at today's staff meeting, I'm going to pick on your shoes. He said, that's fair game. That's fair
Yeah.
game. So I did. So,
Yeah.
but I will never openly pick on somebody
No.
on the team or whatever, because that's just downright wrong. And we live in a hypersensitive environment today, and it's very different than it was years ago.
Right.
You go back to the '70s TVs or whatever, you had people making fun of their neighbor, people, right.
Yeah,
You can't do
absolutely, making fun of absolutely everything. Yes.
correct.
Yes.
You can't, you absolutely cannot do that. And
Right.
the other thing I tell people all the time is, you know, what we're doing, and I don't mean any disrespect to any surgeons that are out there, but w what I tell them is we're not doing open heart surgery.
Right.
Nobody's going to die if we take a little bit more time to get the rest of the data we need to make the right decision,
Mm. Mhm.
right? I don't have all the answers. We need a little bit more data to figure out if this is the right thing to do or not.
Yeah.
Even if our timeline says we should have made a decision by now, nobody's going to die if we take another day,
Exactly.
right? Again, people need to feel safe. They need to feel that they can make a mistake. They need to feel that I've got their back. They need to feel if they and just going through this, you can understand why people want to come back and work for me.
Mhm.
They know what they're
Absolutely.
going to get.
Yeah.
And so now it's my job to, I think, to bring this to others, which is why I'm on this show and
Yes.
talking to your audience. I mean, granted, the book's one thing, but if you really want to immerse yourself in it, you need to get in touch with me for one of my workshops because we really dig deep and we do a
Perfect.
lot of role playing. Because you can't just pick up a book and implement empathy, we will have role plays where everyone will get to feel both sides of the conversation
Yeah.
and get to practice it and really kind of internalize it and drive it home. Um, but I guarantee anyone who follows these 6 principles will be the leader that everybody else follows and the leader
Mm.
that everybody else wants to be.
Mm. Absolutely. I love that. Jim, who is your ideal attendee for the workshops? Who are you hoping that the workshop will attract?
See, this is where I go astray because I try to pigeonhole myself and everybody tells me that's not right.
You're like, that's no, I want to be there as well. Yes. So we're not saying that you're not invited to come. Everyone is welcome, right? We want to say.
I think the people that I can help most the quickest are the people who are the accidental leaders before they start to struggle. That's number
Yes.
one. However, at the same time, the companies that don't have a structure like this
Mhm.
need a structure like this, or they're going to be experiencing the 10 to 15 to 20% turnover rate. The last
Mhm.
company I worked for, the company involuntary resignations are, yeah, no, voluntary resignations were 17.5%, yet mine
Mhm.
was under 5.
Wow.
What's that tell you?
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah,
And they have so much money that's just flying out the doors and the windows and they don't realize it, right? Like the yes.
correct.
Yes.
Correct.
It's not just the human resource that's leaving. It's the knowledge that they take with them as well. It's the impact that it has on the rest of that department when they depart, right? Like when they leave, what is the message that it leaves with the rest of the people that stay? The delegation of work after that. I mean, there's so many factors that come into consideration. It's not just that one employee that is opting to leave. The impact is a ripple effect. I mean, you've shared that.
Well, and because if you don't think your department's talking about you behind your back, then you're not a good leader.
Yeah.
because you're going to hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
they all, it's natural.
It's natural.
It's natural. So I got
Bringing it
asked,
back to the importance of having the mentor as well, right? Like, that's
correct,
a great spot for something to bring over to a mentor. That's you have
correct,
to.
absolutely
Yes.
correct. And the one question I get a lot is, so Jim, when does leadership start? And caught me off guard for a minute. And I said, when does leadership start? And they said, well, does it start when you walk into the office and sit down at your desk? And I said, it doesn't. It starts when your feet hit the floor in the morning,
Yeah.
because at that moment, anybody you interact with, including your own family,
Mhm.
you have an opportunity to meet them, to solve a problem, to talk to them, or engage with them.
Yeah.
When my wife and I go out, she sometimes doesn't like it because I'll talk to anybody. And it's especially in an elevator, because people all get in an elevator. You're like sardines in a can, and
Yes.
nobody's talking. And nobody's talking.
Yeah.
Eh, Why not? Why can't you say hello to the person next to you? Why can't you, y- y- everybody looks angry standing there. So I talk to people,
Yeah.
are you having a good day? Are you, I- but that's me. But I think it's, to me, there's a lot of things that I think we've gotten away from in this world. Integrity is
Mhm.
one of them.
Mhm.
If you look around the world, our governments lack integrity and transparency. I'm trying not to make a political statement or anything. I'm just saying it starts there. It
Right.
comes down into corporations.
Right.
I mean, look at the corporations that have shut down or gone out of business or whatever because of not running their financials properly, or
Exactly.
Enron, with their
Yes.
retirement funds and using. Well, I mean, there are some bad things out there. If we just get back to the way it was
Right.
before everybody started being selfish,
Mhm.
we'd be far better off than we are today.
100%.
And
Yeah.
and so it's my goal to make integrity the new buzzword
Yeah.
for people to follow.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's when you talk about, like, making sure that we take the shifter focus away from us, like that selfish, it's the when you have or you're exhibiting or expressing integrity like that, it's hard to make decisions that are only self-serving, right? Because again, you're going to ask that question of yourself at the end of the day, did I make a choice that has impacted someone else? And then how can I begin to unravel or unwind that now that I've realized that I've done that? Like, what action can I take? Not just sitting and doing the introspective reflection. That's nice. And now you can sleep well. No, it's do the introspective reflection, understand what your actions have done in terms of impact to other people, and then taking accountability for that and writing it if you need to, and celebrating if you don't, right? That's the great piece.
I totally agree with you. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with you.
Oh my gosh. Jim, I love, love, love what you've done here. I'm glad that there's 6 principles that we can remember. That makes it easy, right? Like, it kind of chunks it down. I can't wait to see what is next, but I would like you to share with our listeners, if they are interested in learning more about the workshops or just connecting with you and getting a copy of your book, where can they do all of that?
So the book's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble,
Beautiful.
or they can get it from me from my website. So you see my name on the screen. It's
Yeah.
just it's www. My name, Jim Carlough, no periods or dashes between the two names.com.
Beautiful.
There are some free assets that are downloadable on the website, and you can also send me a message there if you want to talk about mentoring or you're struggling with finding a mentor. I can't be your mentor, but I can certainly help guide you and answer your questions about becoming a mentor. But you can also learn about the workshops that are available as well. And
Beautiful.
so those fill up quickly when I start a new one. But it's a learning opportunity. It's very immersive. You can't come in with an ego.
Yeah.
It's you're doing this for the benefit of others.
Hmm.
You
Well,
really have to focus on that.
you can't go into the workshop with an ego, and you probably shouldn't be leading with an ego either, but that's a different day, different topic. We didn't even touch on that, Jim.
Correct. But what we
Yes.
What we are solving is the accidental manager. We are solving
Yes.
people who have, imposter syndrome. We
Yes.
are solving, voluntary attrition issues. I
Yes.
mean, we can solve a lot of things
Mhm.
with this roadmap.
Absolutely. I love that. I have 2 questions for you, Jim. The first one I want to know, how do you feel about these seeds that you've planted for the next season of life? I know that this started with, "Well, what am I gonna do when I have free time here soon?" How do you feel about this? I mean, this is I feel like it has grown and developed into something much more than a book. This is I think we're going to see this as a cultural shift, within the business space, so, how do you feel about this?
Um, First off, I'm completely surprised that it has
Yeah.
had the success that it has, but
Yes.
it's also demonstrated how bad we need it.
Mhm.
So I think right now I'm at a point where it's either going to implode or explode, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to implode.
No.
Um, but there's more and more activity that's coming. In fact, I got an email yesterday. Someone wanted me to come and speak in Hong Kong at a conference, but
Yeah.
they expected me to pay for my own travel. They didn't want to pay anything, and I'm like, I can't disappear for 3 days and on my own dime.
Yeah.
And but people are noticing. And I
Yes.
mean, I've been on podcasts in South Africa, Nigeria, Austria, Switzerland, Berlin, um, India, 3 on India, Australia,
Wow.
um, and a number of them in the US in the last 12 months.
Congratulations.
So
Yes.
it's
International. I love this. I love this because the lessons carry through, regardless of geographic location, right? These are principles that you can actually just apply to life in general, not just
and,
those for leaders.
and they're timeless. Now there
Yes.
are 2 things.
Yes.
They're timeless, but they're also AI proof. If you're a leader
Mm.
who operates with integrity, uh, Claude and ChatGPT and whatever you want, they don't understand integrity.
No,
They can't show compassion. They can't show empathy.
they
They
don't.
can give you data,
Yes.
but you can only act on that data or interpret that data. And it just demonstrates that AI cannot replace leadership.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Jim, my second question for you, and this is where we'll leave our listeners for today. Down the line, 10, 15, 20, 100 years from now, however long you'd like to envision that, how do you want to be remembered as a leader?
I want to be remembered as the leader who cared and the one that was willing to take the shirt off his back to help another one,
Mhm.
which would be an ugly sight if I did. But the reality is,
We're not figuratively, literally. No, not literally, figuratively. That's the one.
but I
Yes.
really would like to be the one thing I wanted out of the book. I'll tell you this was it was very important for me that if somebody knew me or worked for me and they picked up the book, that they could picture me reading the book
Mhm.
to them. And I was successful at that, but it's gone one step further. I have had numerous reviews where people have said, I feel like I'm sitting next to a lifelong mentor who's telling me his story of life and trying to embark that wisdom on me.
Love that.
So on Goodreads, I have almost 300 reviews with a 4.98 rating.
Nice.
On Amazon, I have just under 50 um, because Amazon, and they didn't do anything wrong. I had a lot of out of the US reviews,
Mhm.
and they finally
Yeah.
came through and they moved those only to the respective countries that they came from, which
Mhm.
took me way down. So anyway, so it's going in the last 2 months, it's gone from 19 to 47.
Yeah.
So, and that's a 4.7 rating.
Wow.
So the book definitely is resonating with people. I do not have a single, I shouldn't say this because somebody's going to go out and do it now. I don't have a single number one or two rating. I have a
Right.
couple of threes and the rest are all fours and fives, which is a testament that I'm pretty proud of. And the
Excellent.
fact that I have had people who know me tell me that, Jim, you can tell you wrote this book. It's not AI. These are
Yeah.
words you use every day.
I love that. I love that. And you know what, Jim? Here's the thing. I'm just creating the space of giving yourself grace. If you have the person that leaves the one or the two, they're not in the season or space to accept those six pillars. And that's okay. They can come back around, right? Like later in life at a different season. You have no idea what's going on. But like you said, you've talked about the fact that these are timeless qualities and attributes that a leader should have, and a leader, like a formal leader and leader in every respect of the word. That's how we show up every day for the people that we love, for the people that we work with, for the people that we volunteer with, for the people within our communities, right? Like just treating one another with having empathy and compassion, and making sure that we're operating from a high level of integrity in everything that we do. Just as a citizen in our communities, I think this is something that carries through in everyone's life in every key area. If you get a one or two, that's fine. But don't let them come from this show, you guys. That's it.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get some one of these days, but I mean, uh, the book's not perfect. There are a couple of errors in it, but
Oh,
I think every book that's published ends up with a couple of errors in it. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. I just wrapped up Ryan Leake's book, The Chasing Failure. And I want to say that this is edition 4 or 5 that I ended up picking up. And in the book, he talks about, kind of looking for and seeking this perfection in the book. And then you get through it and you see that one typo and you're like, well, shoot, now I've got to do a second edition of the book. And then you do the second edition of the book and then you find a different typo or a misspelling or whatever it is. There's no perfection in it. What we know is that the principles within the book apply, and they are having tremendous impact. So thank you. Thank you for listening to the call and actually following through and doing it, because I know writing a book is not an easy feat at all. And so kudos to you and congratulations on everything that you're doing.
well, thank you very much. And maybe I'll be back here another time talking about something different.
I love it. I would love to have you back. That would be amazing, Jim. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We
Well,
will
thank
make
you.
sure that we get all of your contact information in the show notes. Definitely make sure that everyone has access to your website in the show notes as well, so they can head on over, get a copy of the book, check out the workshops if you have new ones that are opening up. And if you all have not had an opportunity to subscribe to this podcast, I'm going to invite you to do so now. You are probably listening to us on your favorite streaming platform. Go ahead and subscribe. A new episode drops every Wednesday. And make sure you check us out on Substack as well, because we'll have a newsletter that accompanies this episode where we dive a little bit deeper and I'll do some reflection on these 6 pillars that we've talked about today. Until next time, I'll see you all soon. Thank you for spending time growing with me on the Leadership That Shines podcast. Every episode is built around the values of impact, influence, and growth. And I want all 3 of those to show up in how you lead starting this week. If this episode added value to your week, share it with a leader in your world who is ready to grow. Subscribe and follow so that you never miss a week. And I'll see you in the next episode.